If you eat more now in case you're hungry later, it's like trying to take out an insurance policy against feeling hungry. Rather than risk hunger pangs, you're taking on extra food. If you do this regularly, it's likely that this is contributing to you having difficulty losing weight. You've become uneasy about feeling mildly hungry, which is a shame because there are all sorts of benefits that follow from allowing ourselves to get at least mildly hungry. I don't mean very hungry at all, I just mean slightly hungry. Imagine being able to feel more confident about tolerating mild hunger so that you can wait for your next meal without getting panicky about feeling hungry. This video will show you how to do that. In this video, first of all, I'm going to explain the psychology behind insurance policy eating so that you can address the root cause of it. I'll describe the two types of insurance policy eating, either eating more than you need before you go into a situation, or taking food with you in case you get hungry in that situation. Then I'll remind you how hunger signals work and why this understanding is such a valuable tool for weight loss that's easy to sustain. And then I'll set out 4 very practical steps that you can take to overcome this pattern so that you don't need to do it anymore. Okay, insurance policy eating is essentially about anxiety, and more specifically, an anxiety about tolerating mild hunger, whether you can tolerate mild hunger. So rather than risk it, you either eat more than you need before you go out, or you take stuff with you. You take snacks with you in case you're going to be getting hungry. But the really valuable thing to appreciate here is you've already got an insurance policy, which is the stores of fat in your body. We evolved over millions of years when food supply was unpredictable, and our bodies evolved ways of storing food, storing energy and nutrients to keep us going through those unpredictable times. When food is actually short, it is a threat to our well-being and our survival. So this system of food storage and food availability, storing food in the body and food being available around us, is actually linked with our threat system, our fear or anxiety system. So if you're going through a time when food is actually short in your life, you are likely to feel anxious about being able to get enough food. And of course, the ancient connection between hunger and threat may be partly what's driving you to avoid hunger. But if food isn't in short supply in your home at the moment, in your life at the moment, then you can ditch the anxiety and learn to let go of this type of eating. I've noticed that there are 2 types of insurance policy eating. One is where you are going to be going into a situation, let's say you're going to be going into a situation in the afternoon, so you eat more at lunchtime than you might have otherwise to avoid being hungry in that situation. So that is one of the reasons that people end up having larger portions that they need. And the other type of insurance policy eating is taking a snack with you. This isn't about if it's a planned snack where you know you've got a long time between this meal and the next one and you know you'll need a snack to tide you over. Here, I'm talking more about you're taking a snack with you because you're uneasy that you might get hungry at some point. And that means that you've got extra food with you, and the problem is, if that food starts calling to you and you eat it despite the fact that you're not at all hungry, that means additional non-hungry eating, unnecessary eating. Doing either or both these things can become habits that keep you stuck and make weight loss more difficult. So let's remind ourselves about how hunger signals work. The first thing to remember is that Hunger signals are the way that our brain and our gut communicate with each other about when food from our last meal has been used up. The second thing to remember is that when you start feeling mildly hungry, when your gut starts signaling to your brain that the food from the last meal is starting to run out, but you don't eat straight away, your body kicks into metabolizing some of its stored energy. This means that the hunger signals are switched off. They don't just keep rising and rising, they come in phases. If you've got into a habit of eating as soon as you feel any sort of hunger, this switch to using up stored energy won't happen, and your body will have another batch of food to digest. So the digestion will keep going and there won't be a rest in between meals. My client Jenny had become really quite fearful of feeling hungry. She was desperate to lose weight for health reasons, but she found that she developed a habit that if she had meetings during the afternoon, which was most days, she would eat more at lunch. She would upsize the portion at lunchtime. One of the ways that she was habitually eating more than she needed was this larger lunchtime meal. So let's look at the 4 practical steps that you can take to reduce this type of eating that Jenny used too. First, whenever you're tempted to eat now, in case you're hungry later, forget later. Just tune into what's happening right now in your body. Ask yourself, where are you right now on the appetite pendulum? For Jenny, this was valuable when she was eating her lunch, and monitoring where she was on the appetite pendulum meant that she was able to notice at the point she was just full, +3 on the appetite pendulum. Normally, because of her fear of getting hungry during the afternoon meetings, she'd carry on eating at that point. But she managed to learn to stop at that point, like she was doing with her other meals. This was hard to start with, but learning how fullness signals work was really helpful to her in supporting this change. Because she'd spent decades doing this insurance policy eating, she was actually quite nervous about this stopping at the point of being just full at lunch and allowing herself to go through the afternoon. So she decided to take a snack with her. This was actually, of course, another form of insurance policy eating, but it was one that she wasn't cashing in early. She was giving herself the chance of discovering whether she was hungry or not during the afternoon. She opted to take a healthy snack in her bag with her. She liked those easy peeler oranges, so she took one of those with her each afternoon for a while. When she thought of eating during the afternoon, she would check in with her gut, check in where she was on the appetite pendulum. If she was actually definitely hungry, -3, then she'd eat the orange. But if she wasn't, we came up with a plan for her, which was really simple, which is that if she wasn't already -3, definitely hungry, then she would distract herself by playing Tetris, a game, on her phone for 3 minutes. If you're trying to lose weight, this is massively helpful to remember. Remind yourself that feeling mildly hungry is a signal that your body is burning a little bit of fat. And when it does that, the hunger signals will switch off for a while because your body now has the energy it needs to do what it's doing. Jenny found this knowledge hugely helpful. She would remind herself that when she felt mildly hungry, -1 or -2 on the appetite pendulum, she was allowing her body to burn a little bit of stored fat. She wasn't going to get overly hungry, but this was helping her in her weight loss goals. She also found it very powerful to realise that when she was eating when she wasn't hungry, she was forcing her body to keep digesting food without a break. The third step is to breathe. Anxiety results from the activation of the nervous system that happens to help us deal with a threat. But when there isn't an immediate threat, like there isn't if there's plenty of food around and you're only going to be getting mildly hungry during the afternoon, this is more feeling anxious just about the idea that you can't cope with feeling hungry. So we need to calm this activation down. The most direct way that we've got of calming this system down is through steady breathing. Take a breath in through your nose. At the top of the breath, pause for a moment or two, and then breathe out through your mouth, releasing the breath. The out breath is slightly calming and the in breath is slightly activating. So for calming breathing, it can be helpful to have a slightly longer out breath than an in breath. You might find it helpful to count the in breath for 5 and then pause at the top for a moment, and then the out breath for 7, or any slightly different numbers like that. And the fourth thing to do is to notice and name the feeling of anxiety as you've got it. This is really valuable because it allows you to slightly disengage or step back from the experience of anxiety. One of the hardest things about feeling anxious is being immersed in it and not knowing how to get out of it. So if you are able to notice what's happening and give it a name, that can really help. Something like, I notice that I'm having thoughts of feeling slightly hungry, or I notice that I'm having a feeling of anxiety right now. Anything that labels what you're experiencing is helpful. So these 4 steps are actually very brief. The first thing is just to tune into your gut. The second is to remind yourself that mild hunger is fine, and actually it's a sign that you may be burning a bit of fat. Then breathe as you notice all this, and notice and name what's happening. So you can do all that quickly as feelings surface. You can distract yourself if it helps, like Jenny did with the Tetris game. But this small sequence will help to release that link between anxiety and feeling mildly hungry. It'll allow you to give up this sort of insurance policy eating. If, like Jenny, you want some professional support to change how you eat in order to lose weight, hit the link in the description below to arrange a free eating pattern analysis call with me. Please remember to like and share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My next video will help you to conquer food cravings.